The first half of the season is in the books, and the Marlins have done better than expected.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I've been a diehard fan of the Marlins since I was 12 years old, and I've been podcasting about them for the last 4 seasons. Go hit me up on X at Jeremiah Geiger 2, and thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every single day. Don't forget to hit subscribe on the YouTube channel and let me know your thoughts in the comments section. And on today's show, I'm going to be talking about the first half of the season for the Marlins, a first half review. What's went right, what's went wrong, and then take a look at the individual standouts, some studs, some guys who have really performed up to expectations or better than we expected them to, and then also wrap it up by talking about the disappointments, so we have an idea of where the Marlins can get better moving forward. The Marlins right now are in third place in the National League East. They're sitting at 44-51, 7 games under 500. And if you asked me that at the beginning of the season, hey, would you take this record, 7 games under 500 at the All-Star break? The answer would be a resounding yes. I didn't have high expectations for this team coming into the season. I really didn't. I thought the offense was going to be miserable, one of the worst offenses in baseball, if not recent Marlins history. And the pitching staff, I felt, was the strength of the Marlins. But early on in the season, it was almost the complete opposite. The pitching staff really struggled. They really couldn't find their footing. The opening day rotation had Sandy Alcantara, Cal Quantrill, and Connor Gillespie. Connor Gillespie is in the Twins organization now. He's since been DFA'd. Sandy Alcantara hasn't been himself all season long. He's just been playing bad. And Cal Quantrill had a really rough first month, of April, and he settled down into being an adequate starter. But the rotation wasn't really giving the Marlins a chance to win a lot of games. And the offense, well, they were surprising, and they've been surprising all season long. In fact, if I'm looking at the numbers here at the All-Star break, and I'm going to go by runs scored because obviously you need to score runs to win baseball games, the Marlins aren't anything special, but they're not terrible either. They're sitting at 19th out of 30 teams in Major League Baseball in runs scored with 408. That's above teams like the Giants, the Twins, the Texas Rangers, the San Diego Padres. The Marlins have scored more runs than all those teams. And I just named a couple of postseason contenders. So this offense has been solid. The pitching staff, what I like to think, really happened was the early season struggles kind of made their numbers a little bit skewed. If you remember correctly, Edward Cabrera, he started off the season on the wrong foot as well. He wasn't pitching well, and he's one of my studs of the year up to this point. I'm going to talk about him more in the next segment. But overall, this Marlins team ERA ranks 24th in Major League Baseball with a 4.58. That's not very good. You want to see that continue to decrease, and the rotation, I think, has stabilized. As we're on the All-Star break, there's going to be more games this weekend with the Marlins returning to action against the Kansas City Royals. But it makes me wonder, at the beginning of the season, what would the production have looked like if Jansen Junk was in the rotation instead of Connor Gillespie? If Ryan Weathers had stayed healthy and started the season in the rotation? That's another factor, and the Marlins are still without him. He's on the 6-day injured list, but the Marlins have talent in their pitching room. Their pitching staff isn't bad at all. It's just they started off the season in the wrong direction. But the way I describe the first half, if I really had to quantify it into 1 or 2 words, I would say competitive. I would say surprisingly competitive. Because, like I said, the Marlins aren't expected to be in third place in the National League East. The Atlanta Braves, I predicted were going to finish first. The Marlins are ahead of the Braves. That's a testament to both the Braves underperforming and the Marlins overperforming. They've played some really tight games. They've had some really exciting games, come from behind victories. And that's the other thing that this team does is they never quit. They're the fighting fish. And they're always going to compete to the last out, even when they're outmatched on paper. Sure, there's going to be teams in your division, like the Phillies, like the Mets, the National League as a whole. You got like the Dodgers. It doesn't matter to these guys. Their attitude and the culture that they've established up to this point in the year is we believe in ourselves and we're going to battle every single given night. It does not matter who we're playing. We may be out-talented on the field, but that doesn't change our internal perspective that we can go out and win. And that's what I love about this version, this version of the 2025 Marlins. It's a night and day difference from a season ago. You go back to last year. Marlins started off the season 0-9, 1-11, 6-24. It was awful. The season was over before it started. There was no joy. There was no hope. There was no excitement. Around the Marlins fan base, there was a sense of, quite honestly, just doom. That where is this team going? What is the direction of this organization? And now I think we can sit back a year later and see some tangible results on the field with the wins and losses and the development of certain players who are going to be here for the Marlins' future. I said this was a developmental year. It's all about how are you going to get the players that are going to be part of your future core, how are you going to continue their progression in a positive way? Not have them take steps back. And we've seen that. And that's coming up next, where I'm going to talk about the studs of the first half of the season for the Marlins. I got a few names that I need to talk about, and they've been really, really good for Miami. That's coming up right after this. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need, delivered fast from coast to coast. If it's you or a family member or a friend who's a trade professional, I encourage you to check out the free Trade Master program. It offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every single order. And if you need help with any given order, Supply House offers expert leading support, industry leading service, and it's a real person you're going to be talking to that's going to help you and guide you through the process. So join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Thank you to all the everyday listeners out there being part of the Locked On Marlins crew. I do appreciate you. Share the podcast with your friends as we're now in the thick of the summer months. It's the dog days of summer. The All-Star break is about to end. All-Star game was yesterday, and we still got a lot of baseball to play. So buckle up Monday through Friday on the YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. The studs for the first half, and I got a few of them. The guys that have really stood out to me watching this team nearly every single day. I'm going to start with the obvious one, Kyle Stowers. Kyle Stowers was the Marlins All-Star representative in 2025. He participated in the swing-off, the first ever swing-off after the game was tied in regulation. There was no extra innings, no traditional extra innings. Kyle Stowers was up there and he technically homered. He homered in the All-Star game, and a lot of people saw it. Really happy for Stowers and the turnaround that he's produced this season. It really is one of the biggest surprises that I can remember in recent Marlins memory. This isn't just a 2-week or three-week heater. He's been doing this all season long. And yes, he's had a couple slumps. You know, he had a 2-week stretch where he wasn't hitting, and there were fans that were starting to doubt him. Well, it was just a fluke at the beginning of the year. And he quieted the critics because only the man in the arena matters, and that's what it is for Kyle Stowers. On the season, hitting .293, OPS of .911. That's higher than Juan Soto, by the way. Just in case anybody's out there wondering, why was Juan Soto not in the All-Star game? Who's this Kyle Stowers guy? Stowers deserves it. Fair and square. Absolutely deserves it. He has 19 home runs, 54 RBIs, and this isn't a small sample size. 304 at-bats. Stowers is a legitimate all-star. He's somebody that at 27 years old, yeah, he's not the youngest of players, but I look at this Marlins window and the way they drafted, going college bats, college pitchers. In fact, their entire draft was college players. The Marlins could be competitive sooner rather than later. And I don't want to hear any discourse about trading Kyle Stowers this season. He's not a free agent until 2030. Change the narrative. He's part of your core. He has a building block and a foundation on this team. Just because, he's a Marlin, and the Marlins historically trade all their players, and they continue this chain of prospects and trades. You got to stop it eventually. You got to find individual players to build around, and Kyle Stowers, without a doubt, is one of those players. I've talked about before on the show how he made the adjustment to hit fastballs, how he was helpless against fastballs a season ago. And usually that spells doom for any major leaguer hoping to carve out a meaningful career. Now he crushes them. He's a legit player. He's a legit building block. And I'm excited to see what he does for an encore in the back half of this season. Second player I'm going to talk about, Edward Cabrera. I mentioned how Edward Cabrera at the beginning of the season started off rough, and that's kind of why the Marlins pitching numbers are skewed. Cabrera's been the best starting pitcher this season for the Fish, but in the month of April, through 4 starts, he had an ERA of 7.23. Think about that. You got Cabrera struggling, Connor Gillespie struggling, Cal Quantrill struggling, Sandy was struggling, no Ryan Weathers, Jansen Junk was in AAA Jacksonville. It was a lot different than it was. Edward Cabrera turned a page. He saved his career. He saved his career with the Marlins being a starting pitcher. Somebody that, myself included, had doubts. Even when he started showing signs of success, I still had those doubts because I'd seen it before. Cabrera was going to have 1 or 2 games in which he shoves, and then he's going to come back down to earth. The control is going to waver, and he's going to be somebody that you just can't rely on. And that's not been the case. Edward Cabrera has been awesome. Awesome. On the season, a 3.61 ERA. Through 16 starts, 82 1/3 innings, 86 strikeouts. Last 7 starts for him, a 2.95 ERA across 36 2/3 with 38 strikeouts. He's limiting the walks. In fact, I'm looking at the game log right here. Last 3 starts for Edward Cabrera, 1 walk. That's it. Back-to-back starts with 7 innings against the Twins and the Brewers. His last start before the All-Star break versus the Orioles, he wavered a little bit. He got hit hard. but he also was dealing with elbow pain. After the game, it was revealed that he was dealing with an elbow issue, but the Marlins are optimistic that he's not going to spend any time on the injured list, and that's huge for Edward Cabrera and for the Marlins. But overall, an incredible first half performance for Edward Cabrera, who could have gotten all-star interest. He pitched that well. And I want to see him continue to do it in a Marlins uniform until he's not a Marlin. The Marlins could very possibly trade him and sell high on this performance. Even though he has a couple years left of control, they could trade him for a prospect haul at the deadline. But, as a Marlins fan who's been watching Cabrera for years, it feels good to finally see the breakout happen, to finally see all the potential come together and produce results, production. Good for Cabrera. The third player, who I'm going to bring up today as one of the studs of the first half of the season is Ronnie Enriquez. Ronnie Enriquez was an off-season waiver claim. He was DFA'd by the Minnesota Twins. Marlins scooped him up, and he's turned into arguably their best reliever out of the pen on the season through 42 games in 45 innings. He's pitched a ton for the Marlins. He's got close or save opportunities. He's got high leverage situations. You can throw him in at any time, position of the game, and most likely you're going to get a couple strikeouts. Through 45 innings, he's got 63 strikeouts. The stuff is off the charts. The fastball is one of the fastballs, if not the best fastball in the Marlins organization. He'll throw at 96, 97, 18 and a half inches of vert. It's got a ton of rise. And then, of course, he's got his sweeper. He throws that more than the fastball, and that's still a really good pitch as well. Opponents are hitting 210 on the sweeper with a 46% whiff rate. You have velocity, you got rise on the fastball, and then you got a devastating sweeper like that. He's a weapon out of the bullpen. And, the Marlins have somebody that there's going to be a tough decision about in the coming weeks. Do you trade him at the deadline because teams are going to call on Ronnie Enriquez, or do you hold him? Does he become eventually your every night closer? That's the decision the Marlins are going to have to make. Trade him now, but you got 6 years of control, or you keep him and he's part of the next Marlins playoff team. I truly think Ronnie Enriquez has the potential to be one of the best relievers in all of baseball. He's already one of the best strikeout weapons in all of baseball, but he continues to grow as a pitcher. A lot of people are going to start noticing him more. I would be remiss without wrapping up the studs list without talking about Agustin Ramirez. Acquired last year in the Jazz Chisholm Jr. trade, a much anticipated call-up. He's been nothing but spectacular for the Marlins. Yes, there are issues with his game. There's question marks with his game. Is he going to stick at catcher? I lean toward no, but I don't care about his defensive performance right now. I'm here to talk about his bat. The Marlins have lacked juice in their lineup for years. It's been an issue since Giancarlo Stanton left. They've needed somebody to go in and just provide pop in the middle of the lineup, and Agustin Ramirez does just that. He has 35 extra base hits, and he didn't debut until April, like mid to late April. I can't remember the exact date, but he wasn't on the opening day roster, but he forced his hand. He got a call up and he just slugs. The dude is a slugger. OPS of 759, hitting 242. He could benefit to see the average increase a little bit, but 14 bombs. He's a threat to hit it out of the park at any given time. You look at the exit velocities, He's in the 89th percentile with an average EV of 92.2. The bat speed, 89th percentile. Hard hit percentage, 80th percentile. He swings hard and he hits hard. And he's the masher that the Marlins needed in the middle of their lineup. Ramirez has been awesome. He's one of the most exciting players in this organization. And I want to see the Marlins extend him. Show commitment to the fans by offering him a contract extension this offseason. That's one of the goals I have for this team. That's what I really want to see. This season has not been perfect, however. I've talked a lot about the positives, but there has been some disappointments on the field for the Fish in terms of production. I'm going to talk about those players right after this. Do you ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Have you ever looked at your spending and been surprised about how much it really adds up over time? Because I know I have. You got going out to eat, hanging out with friends, movie subscriptions, MLB TV subscription. All of a sudden you realize that you got a lot less in your bank account than you'd like to have, and you want to stabilize that. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on who the studs have been in the first half of the season and who have been the disappointments for the Marlins. And the most obvious answer that I have to bring up first has been Sandy Alcantara. Sandy Alcantara, coming off of Tommy John surgery, there were high expectations, especially after his performance in spring training. But he hasn't lived up to them. 18 starts, an ERA of 7.22. He's not been very good. And that's just the reality of it. He's not been good. He's not been what the Marlins have wanted or hoped for coming off of Tommy John. They thought they had somebody who was really going to just return back to form. He looked the part in spring training. The velocity was there. The stuff was there. The expectations were there. And apart from a stretch in June, nothing has resembled the Sandy Alcantara of old. He was one of the biggest trade targets for a lot of teams, one of the biggest trade chips that the Marlins have. He was the biggest trade chip, I would say. And now I don't even think you can call him that. That would be Edward Cabrera. Given the performance that Sandy Alcantara has shown this season, there's really not a lot of optimism, in my opinion, for a clear bounce back. The underlying metrics aren't good. 17th percentile in K percentage, 13th percentile in whiff percentage. He doesn't miss bats. He gets hit hard. Guys don't chase. It's not good. It's not good. And it's disappointing. It's saddening as a fan, as a fan of the Marlins and somebody that's watched Sandy Alcantara grow into a Cy Young winner and then struggle the way he is now. It's got to be the biggest disappointment of 2025. Do the Marlins trade him at the deadline? I'd be shocked if they did. I'd be shocked if a team pays the value that Peter Bendix and company are looking to get out of Sandy Alcantara. I think the best option for him or for the Marlins with him right now is to just hold the rest of the season and see if you can have any tangible improvements. See if there's anything that he can work with pitching coach Daniel Moskis and the organization to improve, because whatever he's doing right now, it just isn't working. It's not working. And you got to change. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So the Marlins need to work with Sandy and get him back to a position that he is confident again, and he can go out there and pitch like he used to some degree. Doesn't have to be the Cy Young level, but an ERA over 7 is just unacceptable at this point. The other major disappointment for the Marlins has been the first base position. And this is a deeper topic, when not just one individual player. It's the way they've handled first base. So the Marlins trade Vidal Brujan in the offseason for Matt Mervis. He was a slugger in AAA in the Cubs organization, but a couple different stints in Chicago, in the Windy City, he didn't figure it out. So he was a perfect change of scenery candidate to come to Miami, low expectations. They're not expected to win, and see if he can put it together. And throughout the month of April, it looked good. It looked good. He mashed 7 home runs. He was right up there at the home run leaderboards, and he was really hot. Really hot. And then everything came crashing down. Matt Mervis ended up getting DFA'd by the Fish a while ago now. He's still in AAA. He's still in the organization, but he hasn't been, on the big league roster. He's not on the 40-man roster. And overall in the season, it's just the same issues that plagued him with the Cubs plagued him in Miami. He whiffed 40% of the time, struck out 37% of the time, hit a $175. That's not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. Matt Mervis is who I would call a quad A player. Somebody that is dominant in AAA and is an above average player at the AAA level, but can't hit worth a lick in the majors. That's why quad A, that extra level, needs to be there. Obviously, not in reality, but that's the level that he's at. He's not a good enough major leaguer, but he's a good minor leaguer. And I wish it had worked out for him, but once it didn't, that was the opportunity to call up Troy Johnston. Troy Johnston has more than earned his opportunity to get a shot in the major leagues. He's now been in the minors for 7 seasons, all with the Marlins organization. He's hit at every level, year in and year out. And for whatever reason, the Marlins first rolled out with Matt Mervis, and then when Matt Mervis was not working out, that experiment had to end. It seemed like this was the opportunity to call up Troy Johnston, and they still haven't. Right now, the Marlins' first base combo is Eric Wagman and Liam Hicks. Liam Hicks has been a decent surprise. He's been good. He's a catcher by trade, but can play a little bit of first base, although he stands at 5'9" and is not the best defender. Eric Wagman is not a very good defender either, and he's just kind of okay with the bat. Nothing special from Wags, just somebody that is a placeholder. I view him as a placeholder. On the year, OPS under 700, OPS of 640, 241 average. He's hit some doubles. He's hit 20 doubles on the season, but only 5 homers. He's not the type of player that's going to be here long term. And that's why I want not Eric Wagman, but Troy Johnston to get his shot at some point this season in the majors. Will it happen? Probably not. I have no reason to think it would. And it's terrible because he's earned it. He's earned the opportunity. So that whole situation at first base has been a disappointment. Sandy, of course, has been a disappointment. And the last disappointment I want to talk about is Calvin Foscher. At the beginning of the season, I had high hopes for Foscher. He got the closer opportunity a little bit last year when the Marlins traded Tanner Scott. But this season, he's just been kind of bad, to be honest. Inconsistent at the minimum. 39 games, an ERA of 4.08. And the last 7 games in particular have been horrendous. ERA of 6.75, 6 2/3 innings, 10 hits, 4 walks. That's not going to cut it. Foscher had an opportunity to really, make his mark on this year's bullpen and stand out as the best reliever. I thought he was going to be the best reliever. That's been Ronnie Enriquez. And play himself potentially into being a valuable trade chip for the Marlins. And that hasn't been the case. So he's been a disappointment. Overall, as we wrap up today's show, this first half has been fun. It's been really fun to watch these guys compete. They won 8 straight just a couple weeks ago. The vibes were high. Everybody was having fun in this organization. And you're in third place. You're ahead of the Braves. And you still have a ton of baseball left to play. I'm excited to see what this team does moving forward, who continues to get better, any potential call-ups in September. We're going to have a fun rest of the season. It was cool to see Kyle Stowers in the All-Star game, be in the swing-off, hit a home run, and a much-earned All-Star nomination for him. That's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Marlins. For your second listen of the day, go check out the new Locked On MLB Game Night over on the Locked On MLB channel. They recap every game of every night. Do a great job over there. And until next time, guys, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.